Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP, Nick is here in attendance with me, and today we're going to be going through our NXT recap from last night. So, just off the back of NXT Vengeance Day, which took place last weekend, the dimension of NXT has changed quite a lot. The landscape's completely different, but we do have a lot of stuff to just talk about and to go through on this weekly show. So how about we kick things off then with what happened first in the night, and that would be an enraged Obafemi, who would make his way down to the ring after the assault that he would be on the second hand of at the NXT Vengeance Day. He would go through his match against A-Town Down Under, successfully defending his championship, but then afterwards we would see the four thugs who, would storm the ring, who would lay the beat down on Obafemi, as well as in the earlier parts of the night, Axiom and Nathan Fraser as well. But Obafemi, clearly still enraged about this, would demand that they would show their faces and that, they would basically answer to the ruler. It wouldn't be them that would show up, though. We would actually instead have none other than the X Division champion from TNA, Moose. He would come on down to the ring, very big amount of aura surrounding him on his way down, and it would be pretty much a giant stare down in the ring. We would get a little bit of a back and forth between the two men. Obafemi basically just, sizing up Moose. He's basically as big as Oba is. It's quite a stacked face-to-face, this one. But it would eventually result in Moose challenging Obafemi to a match, basically saying, you know what, let's do this. How about you against me? How about it? And Obafemi, he's never one to back down from a fight. He would basically agree. The two men would hold their titles up in the ring to end the segment, and we are going to be having Obafemi against Moose, so the NXT champion versus the X Division champion from TNA. Quite the exciting prospect going forward, but yeah, should be quite interesting. Moving on with the action, we would then see a match between Carmen Petrovic, Kalani Jordan, and Jada Parker. This would be a triple threat contest, where the winner would be the number one contender for the NXT Women's North American Championship. Going into the contest, had my thoughts. Maybe it could be either Carmen Petrovic or Jada Parker, because Kalani's recently come off the, not recently, but she was the inaugural North American champion, so I had a feeling it'd be someone different. And I guess I was kind of right. Carmen Petrovic would pick up the win in the end here. Jada Parker would be taking control. She'd lay out Kalani Jordan. She'd start sort of like, basically getting a bit confident, walking around the ring to get ready for her next move. I think Carmen Petrovic would fall into a cover on Kalani and would score the victory in the end. It was quite the interesting finish. Jada getting a little bit too overconfident, perhaps. But yeah, it would be quite the way to get the job done. So Carmen Petrovic becoming the new number one contender for the Women's North American Championship. That would be followed by a situation featuring Fatal Influence. Obviously, Fallon Henley, off the back of losing that championship that we're talking about here, at NXT Vengeance Day to Stephanie Vicaire, herself and the rest of Fatal Influence, Jasmine Nix and JC Jane, they would not be very happy. They would storm the ring, they would assault and lay the beat down on Carmen Petrovic. Ashante the Adonis had really nothing that he could do during the frenzy and the melee. But as that was going along, Stephanie Vicaire, Julia, and eventually Jordan Grace would come down to the ring, and they would start a brawl with Fatal Influence, issuing a tag team match with the three for later on in the night. Quite the interesting segment. Carmen Petrovic winning, become the new number one contender. I mean, hey, look, fair play to her. I think that'll be an easy win for Stephanie Vicaire, I would imagine. I can't see an upset there. If so, that'll be crazy. But yeah, Carmen Petrovic, fair play to her for winning this triple threat contest. Quite enjoyed the match. Thought it was quite fun. And I guess nice to see someone different in the title picture for sure. I don't think Carmen's had a singles championship opportunity just yet. So yeah, this will be good for her. We would then go on to a match afterwards, which was a tag team contest. We would see Zarya and Soruka. They would team up to take on Last Legend and Jakara Jackson. This is an opportunity for both teams to, get one over the other. Zarya and Soruka haven't really had the best results when it comes to tag matches recently, whereas Lash and Jakara are one of the better women's tag teams on the NXT roster. So this is quite an interesting contest between both teams, but it would be in the end the team of Soruka and Zarya getting the victory, which is their biggest win since becoming a team together. So hey, maybe things are starting to click for them. Maybe they're starting to figure things out between the two of them. And you got to say fair play to the both of them for getting the win over a team like Lash and Jakara. And then we would go on to the next segment, which would be a contract signing, which would be ultimately the guy that we all know, well, we all knew as Ricky Starks. He would be in the ring, prepping to sign his contract, joining NXT. He would be interrupted by Ethan Page at some point. That would be moments before the two would have a bit of a back and forth. Ethan would basically, getting a little bit sort of like that egoist style promo. Just basically just trying to knock Ricky down a step or two. It would get to a point where Javon Evans would come on down and he would attack Ethan Page. So obviously after the match at NXT Vengeance Day, Javon clearly not done with Ethan Page, and those two would brawl outside the ring and away from the situation, leaving just Ricky and Ava in the ring. So as Ricky would go to sign the contract again, we would then have Wes Lee who would interrupt Ricky. This would this wouldn't last too long with Wes Lee and Ricky in the ring, just having a bit of a conversation between the other before Wes Lee would go to attack Ricky. He'd be able to turn things around and would actually clothesline Wes Lee outside of the ring, leading to him immediately signing his contract, where the camera would zoom on in and we would see his name actually be Ricky Saints. It's not Ricky Starks. I think that's going to take a lot of getting used to. But Ricky Saints, that's something that I can get used to. I quite like the name change. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. And just got to get used to it, I suppose, right? But good to see Ricky as part of the NXT roster now. And, all these little things going on. We've got continuation between Javon Evans and Ethan Page. There's now Wes Lee involved in that. So, yeah, it's quite interesting here to see how this is all playing down. And Ricky will be in action very, very soon. So how about we go over to yourself then, Nick? What did you think about all of these opening segments here regarding the stare down between Moose and Femi, the matches here, the tag team match, the triple threat, and then obviously that contract signing? What do you make of Ricky's new name?
Yeah, I do not watch TNA, so I can't put too much on what they've done outside of WWE. That being said, just the sheer size of these two guys, both holding titles, I think is nothing but good news for us. It continues what seems seemingly just partnership between TNA and NXT. It's just going apparently very, very well. It feels like every week we have a couple new entrants, either that came from TNA or still part of TNA. So that should be a fun match whenever it is that we get it. The triple threat match, I have no issues with this. As you mentioned, I don't see Carmen winning the North American title, and with this, she at least gets an opportunity to shine in that spotlight. And Kalani Jordan and Jada Parker get a chance to kind of continue their rivalry. And so I don't see any issues with that either. So I think this kind of works on all ends. Moving on to Sol Ruka and Zarya. Continuing that, getting them another win here over Metaphor, I think is great for them. I think the sky is the limit for that team. And I think we've just hit this point where with the women's division, we just have so many people to get involved. I think eventually you have to put some of them together. I think that's kind of what we've seen here. But to date, I've not seen any issues with that team, in terms of won't this work? I've actually, seeing them in this match last night kind of got to thinking, the fallout from this should be good as well. Thinking obviously way down the line, but these two in a match together will be fun once we get that blowout. Yeah, Ricky Saints, not the worst name change I've ever heard. Does anyone remember Gunther? But yeah, no issues here. Javon Evans clearly not down with Ethan Page. I think that's fine. And Ricky Saints kind of walking through being the cool guy on NXT now. I think that works. Eventually he's gonna have to put his money where his mouth is, and that didn't take the evening before we got him set up for a match next week. So no issues with that. It was kind of strange how subtle they were about the name change. They didn't mention anything about it until they showed us the paper, and then all right, there we go. There's your name change. But yeah, Wesley gets involved as well. Um, with Ricky Saints, and so we'll see the four of them kind of tag up against each other next week. So yeah, no issues there. Get our first look at Ricky Saints in NXT.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing Ricky hit the ground running here on NXT. Now that obviously he's signed this contract, he can get into the action. That tag team match coming up soon is going to be quite interesting to see him, get his feet on the ground and get the ball rolling as to how he is sort of perceived in NXT. So far, he seems to be a relatively big deal, which is nice. But obviously, going forward, it's going to be key to see how he sort of like keeps going to that sort of image. But yeah, really excited to see him getting started. And just basically hit the nail on the head with the most of those. I haven't really seen a lot of TNA action either, just little bits here and there. Moose is somebody that I'm aware of, but not somebody that I'm very, very familiar with. But yeah, that match should be great. I mean, look at the size of the guys. It should be heavy hitting as hell, and gonna be a really captivating watch for sure. How about we move on to our next little bit of action then, everybody? So, going on from that one, we would have a one-on-one match between Shawn Spears and Channing Stacks Lorenzo of the D'Angelo family. Obviously, this goes back to the week before, where the North American title was on the line between Ridge Holland and Tony D'Angelo in the main event of NXT. We would then have Izzy Dane, interfering not interfering, but like sort of turning her back on Tony D'Angelo at the end, aligning herself with Shawn Spears and his group of guys, and that would sort of like lead us into this one, the underboss Channing looking to basically step up and to take out Shawn Spears. Unfortunately for him, it didn't go that way though. Shawn Spears would get the victory in this one after a little bit of a competitive matchup between the two men. But didn't really expect Channing to win here, because ultimately that would just sort of like derail the momentum that Shawn Spears has sort of got going with the group alongside him. But completely made sense. Fair enough. And nice to see Shawn Spears with his first win in a little while, as far as I can remember. So yeah, that's ultimately good for him. We would then go into another one-on-one match, this time between Eddie Thorpe and Andre Chase. This match had been set up earlier in the night between, I guess, aspiring Chase U students is what I can call them, I guess. Chase U's dead, as Andre Chase likes to say, but I guess there are still some people with spirit out there somewhere looking to believe in Chase U rebirth. But when it comes to this matchup here between himself and Eddie Thorpe, obviously being on the back of a huge victory and it's Vengeance Day against Trick Williams in that strap match, I think all the momentum in the world was Eddie Thorpe right here, and he proved that in this contest. He had Andre Chase his number for basically the majority of the contest. A little bit, obviously, of Andre getting back into the action, but never really could get past that mentality of Chase U's gone. What happens now, sort of thing. It was always him looking to the crowd and realizing what's gone is gone, and that would ultimately be his downfall. Eddie Thorpe would take advantage. He would quickly pick up the victory after those moments, and no real shocks there. Trick would appear on the Titantron afterwards, basically saying that he's not done with Trick Williams. No, Eddie Thorpe's not done with Trick Williams, because Trick's going to come and get some payback in due course. We would then move on to our main event of the night, which was set up earlier on, as we mentioned. This would be between the team of Julia, Stephanie Vicaire, and Jordan Grace, taking on Fatal Influences, Fallon Henley, JC Jane, and Jasmine Nix. This one pretty star-studded, right, between these 6 women. We've got a former North American Women's Champion, we've got a former NXT Women's Tag Team Champion, we've got the current NXT Women's Champion, the current North American Women's Champion. We've got the former Knockouts Women's Champion from TNA, Jordan Grace. There's a whole lot of caliber in this contest. It was quite the main event here, 3 versus 3, and it was a really fun match. It was great to watch. I think everybody really got involved here and played their part throughout the contest. And they sort of seemingly cancel each other out for the majority of the match. But then towards the end, Jordan Grace getting tagged in completely turned up the pace of the contest, and she would, alongside Julia and Stephanie Vicaire, nullify Fatal Influence and ultimately get the win in the end. But Jordan looked very impressive here on her first match since being an official member of the NXT roster, and Julia and Stephanie continue to impress. face with influence. They continue to be in the spotlight as well, which is ultimately great for them. And they showed up when they needed to during this matchup as well. So yeah, really enjoyed this matchup. Nice way to end off NXT. And just don't really have a lot else to say except for good job with everybody involved. But hey Nick, what about you though? What did you think regarding the 2 1-on-1 contests? Before the main event happened, and what did you think about the the star power that we have here on display between these 6 women? The future of NXT's women's division is bright, as we all know. There's so much depth and quality throughout, but when they display it like this, it's fundamental how clear it really is.
Yeah, exciting times for the NXT women's division and the future of WWE for sure. I think we hit on that quite a bit. But as far as the matches go, the first 2 single matches, Shawn Spears winning, I think, is a great call. We just need to get this faction a name. Um, I'm not sure why we haven't yet. Perhaps they just can't come up with a good one. I'm not sure. We've seen some pretty bad ones in WWE, so surely we can come up with something decent enough. Continuing that feud though with the family, I think, is essential here, and curious to see where they're going to take that one. Eddie Thorpe getting a win here over Andre Chase, I think, is the right call. Andre Chase's character is pretty entertaining to me. This kind of reminds me of like a sad Corbin we had on main roster. Kind of gives me those vibes. And Booker T laughing at his own jokes throughout the entire match about his dollar store getup was pretty entertaining. Booker T just doesn't miss. So maybe people don't find him as entertaining as I do, but I that was hilarious. It took away from the match, honestly, a little bit because I was too busy listening to what he had to say. But yeah. Anyways, in between these, we also got Lexis King challenging Moose for his X Division Championship next week. Just because, I guess he asked and he got it. So looking forward to that. And speaking of TNA crossovers, we also got in QCC challenging the Hardy Boys and them accepting. So we will also see that next week. The show in Cincinnati, Ohio, looking to be pretty eventful. So looking forward to that. Main event. Yeah, I feel like everyone kind of walked away here looking better. I really don't have any. I think probably Jordan Grace walked away looking the best. She's of the face team here, the only one without a title. So I think that kind of makes sense. And she just debuted, so no issues with that. Great main event. All of the stars here listed. I think it was kind of expected. It's kind of like the main event of Raw. You kind of just expect it to be good, and it was. So it was a fun match, and one I would recommend to someone who didn't watch NXT. I would show them this, and I'd say, here, give it a shot. But yeah, and then I'm curious to see if you got this one on your end, KP, but I didn't know about this until I kind of looked up, a recap and that sort of thing to see if I missed anything. But these mysterious figures that we saw over the weekend at Vengeance Day apparently, went into Ava's office and made a mess of it, spray painted the walls and that sort of thing. I did not see that on my recorded show. So I'm curious if you saw it as well. I saw it on social media, but I didn't get to see it live and on the show. So curious if you saw that one, but I was kind of glad because it felt like other than that, we really didn't get anything else for that. And that was kind of a big thing from Vengeance Day. But yeah, overall, it was a great show. Tons of action and looking forward to see where Jordan Grace kind of falls in place. There's no shortage of options, but it feels like anything below the Julius NXT Women's Championship is kind of probably not it. But we'll see where that goes. But overall, another great NXT show. Give this one an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, so just going on the back of what you asked there about the attack, well, I guess the attack, the decimation of the room backstage. Yeah, we did see it live. So it was like right at the very end of the show for me, literally straight after this whole main event had taken place. Yeah, the camera sort of like switched to the parking lot. It like went through, and then yeah, went inside. So I did happen to see it on the yeah, on the footage. So like a one seemingly one seamless playthrough sort of thing, basically. But yeah, I mean, I was wondering throughout the night if we were actually going to see anything more of these guys because they don't just attack at a PLE then to completely disappear, do they? That'd be pointless. So I didn't actually get who it was. I didn't see who was on the floor. Like Ava was there and she was like alerted to whoever it was. I couldn't tell. I couldn't hear what Ava was saying either. Whether I just completely missed something or I was like unable to see because it was a bit of a dodgy angle or whatever, and I wasn't really like able to get like a good look. I don't know, but yeah, I couldn't figure out who it was. Have you had a look at it? Like, did you take like a good look afterwards? Because obviously you said you saw it online. So did you get a chance to like see who it was? Because I genuinely am not sure.
On X is where I ended up seeing it, and the camera is so shaky that yeah, I haven't got a clue who it is. I didn't recognize him. So, but yeah, the camera angle was not ideal for sure. I'm just glad I saw it before I came on here and ranted about them not having any segments. So, takeaway is, I guess they're still there. You could argue this seems like a step down. They were making themselves clearly apparent on, at Vengeance Day, attacking, two of the men's champions in the tag and Obafemi. And then the next show, they made a statement by spray painting the manager's office, I guess. Take that for what you will, I guess. But yeah, it seemed like a bit of a step down, but I guess at least we got something and proving that they are still around, and we'll find out more in the upcoming weeks, hopefully.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad it wasn't just me that couldn't figure out who it was. But yeah, you made a good point. The camera was shaking everywhere, and I really couldn't get a good look. So, okay, I'm happy about that. I was worried I'd missed who it was, and I just really couldn't figure out. I had like a dumb moment and was like, okay, right, I don't know. But yeah, I haven't had a chance to look on social media since. But yeah, I was thinking that it was somebody that I might have missed out on. But thankfully, sounds like it might not be. They have been using a few sort of like extras, guys from the PC recently, so maybe it's just a maybe somebody from that category perhaps. But yeah, I mean, you made some great points about the matches here. I think especially when it comes to Jordan Grace, it's a very big talking point because where does she fit in? You can see her looking over there at the NXT Women's Championship, maybe even like glancing over to the Women's North American Championship as well. Either way, she doesn't have a title, so it would be too early to probably give her one. But to put her in that picture, I think she probably will be looking to get into that very, very soon. It just shows the the depth of the women's division here, and we didn't even see Cora Jade throughout the night either. And obviously, she'd be sort of like, she's been trying to shuffle for position recently regarding a championship. So to see her not even involved throughout the night was quite interesting. After the back of Vengeance Day, and the build that she had going into that. So that's another name that wasn't really included here, but someone that probably could be. But yeah, NXT was good. I enjoyed it as well. You gave it an 8. I think I'd probably give it an 8 as well. I think it did what it needed to do off the back of Vengeance Day, sort of like maybe going into a couple of different angles and continuing some different stories, and yeah, showcasing what they needed to when they needed to. So yeah, enjoyed it. Enjoyed it. It was a really good one, and yeah, excited to see where it's going to be going to. As we now approach the build towards Stand and Deliver, basically. So yeah, excited. Excited, and I think it did what it absolutely needed to. Before we do close this one out, Nick, is there anything that you'd like to add going forward before we, hit the nail on the head?
Yeah, you mentioned Cora Jade not being on there, and I didn't actually think of that, but what I did notice that Roxanne Perez wasn't on there. Obviously, she was on Monday Night Raw the night before, so had me thinking. I wonder if this is officially her push up to main, because it's not often we see an NXT episode without Roxanne Perez. So hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm sure you're hoping the same, that this is the official push up to main.
Yep, I am hoping, and I would wager that she probably is main roster, going forward from here on out, which I think is absolutely deserved. She's done all she needs to do on NXT. there's nothing really left for her to do. And I think they've got like the new sort of girls in there to completely take over the show. So, I mean, we had Roxanne Perez at the top for so long, right? And now we've got Julia, we've got Stephanie Vicaire, we've got Jordan Grace, amongst other women. That's not naming anybody else because there's no real need to at this point. But essentially just swapping Roxanne Perez with those three is quite the testament to Roxy and what she's capable of drawing from NXT. So yeah, she's left it in a very good place, and the main roster will be better to have her there as well now. So I think everyone's a winner, and Roxy gets to go to the main roster and enjoy her time there. For now then, guys, that is the push with Nick and KP. If you enjoyed this NXT recap, then please let us know in the comments what you thought, and whether you agree with us, whether you disagreed, whatever it is, we'd love to hear your thoughts. If you want to hit a like on the video, then please do so and subscribe to the channel. We're always looking for new people to watch our content and to keep up with further releases in the future. We will be getting onto another one of these podcasts very, very soon with something a little bit different that I think Nick alluded to in the last one, where we're going to be talking about the Elimination Chamber competitors and basically ranking how likely they are to win, as well as if they did win, what would we do with them? How would we book them going into WrestleMania? And basically all of that sort of situation. But thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. We really appreciate it. This has been The Push with Nick and KP, and we'll see you all in the next one. For now, guys, thank you and goodbye.